In Module 12, we're looking at the concept of variation. So let's look at an example. If we're given the values 1, 1, 3, 4, 4, and 5, and we're asked to find the variance and the standard deviation, how would we do so? Well, first we need to notice that the sample mean, also known as x bar, is equal to 3. So if you need, you could pause the video here, go back to Module 11, and see if you remember how to find the sample mean of a data set. Moving on from there, we need to recall that the standard deviation of a sample is equal to the square root of the quantity of the sum of the quantities of the x's minus the x bars, all those values squared, and then divided by n minus 1, where n is our sample size. So the easiest way to probably implement this formula is with a table. So let's begin that process. So in my table, my first column is going to represent the data values minus the sample mean, also known as x minus x bar, and the second column is going to be represented with those values being squared. So the first thing I'm going to do is list all of my data values in a column. So 1, 1, 3, 4, 4, and 5. I'll list those as the rows of my table. And from each of these, I need to subtract x bar. So from the first one, 1 minus x bar, or 1 minus 3, gives me the value -2. And I continue this process with each of the numbers. Notice the second row would also be equal to -2. And as we move down the rows, we obtain the values 0, 1, 1, and 2. The second column will take these results and square them. So looking back at the first row, I obtained -2. If I square that, -2 times -2 will give me a +4. Likewise, I get the same result for the second row. And if I continue, I obtain the values 0, 1, 1, and 4 for the remaining rows. Now, if you remember back to the formula that we had a few minutes ago, you could rewind the video, or we're going to show it to you here in a minute when we create space here on the slide. We needed to find the summation of this second column. So if we add up all the values we obtained in the second column, 4 plus 4 plus 1 plus 1 plus the last 4, we find that sums or totals 14. So let's remember that number, 14. So recalling that the variance is equal to, notice we're talking about variance now and not standard deviation. The variance is equal to the same expression we saw before without the square root sign. That is, the variance is equal to the summation of the quantities of the x minus x bar squared divided by n minus 1. So I think we have all of our values. I think we're ready to substitute those in. We found previously that the summation of that second column in our table was 14, and we're going to divide that by n minus 1. Well, we have 6 data values, so that would be 6 minus 1. Plugging this into our calculator, 14 divided by 5 gives us the result of 2.8. 2.8 is our variance. And now to find our standard deviation, we just need to take the square root of the value we just obtained. We need to take the square root of 2.8. And if we substitute or plug that into our calculator and round to 2 decimal places, we obtain that the standard deviation for this data set is 1.67. We'll look for any questions that you might have as we continue to study variation on the discussion board.